Hey everyone! Welcome back to the channel Next Wave America. Today, we're diving into something you've probably heard thrown around in the news, on social media, or maybe even in a random conversation, GDP. But what the heck is it? Why should you care? And how does it actually affect your life, like your job, your groceries, or even that dream vacation you've been saving for? Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll not only understand GDP like a pro, but you'll also see why it's a big deal for all of us. If that sounds good, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let's jump right in. So, let's start with the basics. GDP stands for Gross Domestic Product. Sounds fancy, right? But don't worry, I'm not here to bore you with textbook jargon. Think of GDP as a giant scoreboard. It's a way to measure how much stuff a country is making and selling, everything from the coffee you drank this morning to the car you drove to work, or even the app you're watching this video on right now. In short, it's the total value of all the goods and services produced in a country over a specific time, usually a year. Here's a simple way to picture it. Imagine you buy this coffee for $3, and this phone was made for $200. If those were made in your country, they'd add to the GDP. Now multiply that by millions of transactions, clothes, food, Netflix subscriptions, you name it, and bam! You've got a number that tells us how big or healthy a country's economy is. Cool, right? But hold up, why should you care about this number? Well, GDP isn't just some random stat for politicians to brag about. It's tied to your everyday life. When GDP is growing, it usually means businesses are doing well. Jobs are popping up, and people like you and me might have more money to spend. But when it shrinks, oh, that could mean layoffs, higher prices, or even a recession. Yeah, that's when you start noticing your grocery bill creeping up or your boss saying, "Sorry, no raises this year." Okay, let's break it down even more. There are three main ways economists calculate GDP, but don't panic, I'll keep it simple. First, there's the production approach, how much stuff is made, like cars or pizzas. Second, the income approach, how much money people earn making that stuff, like wages or profits. And third, the spending approach, how much we all spend buying it. They all add up to the same number, just looked at from different angles. Pretty neat, huh? Let's make this real. Imagine your neighbor, Sarah, owns a bakery. She bakes 100 cakes and sells them for $20 each. That's $2,000 added to the GDP. Now, if more people start buying her cakes because the economy's booming, GDP goes up. But if a recession hits and people stop buying, her bakery struggles, and GDP takes a dip. That's how it connects to real people, not just numbers on a screen. Now, here's where it gets juicy. GDP isn't perfect. Yeah, I said it. It doesn't tell the whole story. For example, it counts money spent on fixing stuff after a natural disaster like hurricanes or earthquakes as a boost to GDP. But does that mean we're better off? Nope. It also ignores things like happiness, clean air, or unpaid work, like if you babysit your niece for free. So while GDP's a great tool, it's not the ultimate judge of how awesome life is. Let's talk reality for a sec. Take the US. Its GDP in 2024 was around $28 trillion. Massive, right? Compare that to a smaller country like New Zealand, with a GDP of about $250 billion. Does that mean the US is better? Not necessarily, it's just bigger and produces more. But here's the kicker. GDP per capita, that's GDP divided by population, tells us how much wealth there is per person. In the US, that's about $80,000 per person, while in New Zealand, it's closer to $50,000. Suddenly, the gap doesn't seem so huge, does it? So, how does this help you? Next time you hear GDP grew by 3% on the news, you'll know it's a sign the economy's probably doing okay. Maybe it's a good time to ask for that raise. But if it's shrinking, maybe hold off on that big purchase. It's like having a cheat code to understand what's happening around you. Alright, fam, that's GDP in a nutshell. From coffee cups to trillion-dollar economies. It's all about measuring what we make and spend. Did this clear things up for you? Let me know in the comments what's one thing you learned today. And if you want more breakdowns like this, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss out. Thanks for watching. You're the best. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.